The vote passed with overwhelming majority. 47 Galactic Council members raised their appendages in favour, only 3 abstained, and none voted against. Earth and all human settlements would be cut off from the galactic network within 72 hours. No trade, no communication, no travel. Exile. Absolute and total. Commander Jake Morrison received the transmission at 0400 hours aboard the orbital station Horizon. He didn't bother reading past the first paragraph. He'd seen this coming for months, ever since the incident at the Kepler mining colonies. Humanity had refused to surrender their claim to the asteroid belt, and the Council couldn't tolerate such defiance from a species barely 2 centuries into space travel. Jake's fingers moved across the console before his conscious mind caught up. He opened a secure channel to every human vessel, station and colony outside the Sol system, 347 locations. They had 72 hours before the network lockdown, but Jake wasn't planning to wait even 72 minutes. This is Morrison. Authorization code Whiskey 7 Delta. Execute protocol homeward. Immediately. I repeat, execute protocol homeward. Acknowledge and comply. Responses flooded in within seconds. The captains and station commanders had been briefed on this contingency. They all knew what it meant. Strip every alien station, outpost and facility of useful technology before the exile took effect. If the Council wanted humanity gone, humans would take everything that wasn't nailed down, and quite a bit that was. Captain Lisa Chang commanded the cargo hauler Meridian, currently docked at Centauri Trade Hub 7. She smiled as Morrison's message came through. Her crew of 40 had been mapping the station's systems for weeks, identifying critical components the aliens wouldn't miss until too late. Gravity generators, quantum processors, medical nanites, and most importantly, 3 unlocked data cores containing construction specifications for Council vessels. "Time to go shopping," Lisa announced to her crew. "Teams 1 through 4, you know your targets. We load everything in 30 minutes, then we burn hard for home." Across the galaxy, similar scenes unfolded. At the Vega shipyards, Commander Pete Harris and his engineering team walked into the alien manufacturing facility they'd been maintaining for 6 months. The Vorgash supervisors barely looked up as the humans spread throughout the complex. They'd become familiar faces, trusted with routine maintenance. The supervisors didn't notice when the humans began downloading manufacturing templates, or when they quietly deactivated security systems, or when they started cutting free entire fabrication units with plasma torches. On the agricultural colony of Barnard's World, Dr. Amy Stevens received Morrison's transmission while standing in the Alien Botanical Research Center. She'd spent 2 years studying xenobiology here, learning how the Council species adapted plants to different atmospheric conditions. The aliens had shared their research freely, never imagining humans would be expelled. Amy looked at the seed vault, the genetic databases, the terraforming protocols. All of it represented centuries of accumulated knowledge. She began copying files to every storage device she could find. Her research assistant, Kevin Price, started loading physical samples into containment cases. They had studied these organisms, catalogued them, learned from them. Now they would take them home. The Council had made their decision based on fear. Humanity expanded too quickly, adapted too fast, refused to accept limitations that other species considered natural law. The Vorgash had needed 3,000 years to develop faster-than-light travel. Humans had done it in 60 years after first seeing the technology. That kind of rapid development terrified species who measured progress in millennia. Jake watched the status reports roll in. Every human facility was executing the protocol. They weren't stealing, not exactly. These were materials humans had helped build, maintain, and operate. They were taking payment for services rendered, compensation for the trade relationships being severed. If the Council wanted humanity isolated, humanity would accept that exile, but not as beggars. 12 hours into the 72-hour window, the first alien complaints reached Council headquarters. The Meridian had departed Centauri Hub with 60 tons of undocumented cargo. Barnard Station reported massive data transfers from the research center. The Vega shipyards had gone silent. their human workforce suddenly unreachable. By hour 24, the Council realized their mistake. Humanity wasn't waiting to be escorted out. They were taking everything they could carry and leaving on their own terms. Emergency sessions convened, but what could they do? Send military forces to stop the humans? That would mean war, and war with humanity was exactly what the Exile vote had been meant to avoid. The 72-hour window closed with humanity already gone. 347 locations evacuated, stripped, and abandoned. Every human vessel pointed towards Sol, engines burning at maximum thrust. They carried with them technology, data, resources, and most dangerously, knowledge of how the Galactic Council truly operated. The Council had voted to exile Earth, thinking they were containing a problem. Instead, they had just given humanity a reason to stop playing by anyone's rules but their own. And humans, as the Council was about to learn, were extremely good at making their own rules. The Council voted to exile Earth. Earth voted to take everything worth taking. The difference was that humans didn't wait to be told twice. They saw an opportunity in exile, a chance to break free from the limitations others tried to impose. The galaxy thought it was building a wall to keep humanity contained. Humanity saw building materials for something entirely new. The 72 hours ended. The network barriers activated. Earth and all its colonies fell silent to galactic communications. But in that silence, something was already growing. Something the Council would eventually come to fear far more than humanity's presence among them. They would fear what humanity would become in isolation, free from oversight, free from restrictions, free to pursue their own path at their own terrifying pace. The vote had passed, the exile had begun, and humanity had just stopped asking for permission. The transport ship Nevada crossed into Sol system space, carrying the last evacuated crew from the outer colonies. Captain Greg Palmer stood on the bridge, looking at Earth growing larger in the view screen. Behind his ship came hundreds of others, a fleet of human vessels, loaded with alien technology, stolen knowledge, and determination to prove the Council had made a catastrophic error. "Home," Greg said quietly. "Time to show them what happens when you tell humans they can't do something." His first officer, Lieutenant Karen Foster, pulled up inventory lists on her display. The sheer volume of materials, data, and equipment humanity had extracted in those final hours was staggering, enough to accelerate human development by decades, maybe centuries. "The Council thinks they've contained us," Karen said. "They have no idea what's coming." Greg smiled. "No, they really don't." The last human ship crossed the barrier. The exile was complete, but for humanity, this wasn't an ending. It was the beginning of something the galaxy had never seen before. The beginning of what happens when you try to cage a species that refuses to be caged, when you exile a people who turn isolation into opportunity. The Council had voted, humanity had answered, and the answer was simple. You don't tell humans what they can't do. You don't exile them and expect them to go quietly. You don't try to limit their potential and think they'll accept it, because humans don't wait to be told twice. They hear you the first time. And then they do exactly what you feared they would, only faster and more completely than you ever imagined possible. The galaxy was about to learn that lesson, and it would be a harsh teacher. The transport ship Atlantic emerged from faster-than-light travel on the outer edge of the Sol system. Commander Ryan Cooper had pushed his engines harder than recommended, desperate to reach home before the network collapsed entirely. His vessel carried 43 refugees from the diplomatic quarter on Sirius Prime, humans who had been serving as ambassadors, trade representatives, and cultural liaisons. "Sir, we're getting emergency broadcasts on all channels," his communications officer reported. "Looks like Morrison's protocol is in full effect." Ryan had expected nothing less. Jake Morrison was known for two things: perfect timing and absolute ruthlessness when protecting human interests. If Jake said, "execute immediately," there was a reason. "What's our cargo status?" Ryan asked. "We managed to grab the entire Sirius diplomatic archive before evacuation. Every treaty, every trade agreement, every communication log for the past 15 years. Plus, Ambassador Christine Ward brought her personal collection. Ryan raised an eyebrow. Christine Ward had been humanity's chief diplomat to the Sirius Consortium, a position she'd held for 12 years. Her personal collection would be extensive. What kind of collection? Xenocultural artifacts, sir. Also 3 cases of what she claims are gifts, but according to Manifest are advanced medical scanners, cultural database access keys, and 1 item listed as ceremonial art that reads on sensors as a quantum computing core. Ryan couldn't help but grin. The ambassadors had seen this coming too. Everyone had. The council had been moving toward exile for months, and humanity had been quietly preparing. Down on Earth's surface, President Linda Martinez watched the returning ships on the Situation Room displays. Each vessel represented humans coming home, bringing with them pieces of the galaxy they'd been forced to abandon. The crawl of incoming inventory reports seemed endless. Madam President, we're getting reports of civilian vessels arriving with unscheduled cargo, her chief of staff announced. Private traders, independent haulers, even some tourist ships. They're all carrying something. Linda wasn't surprised. When word of the exile vote leaked, every human in council space had understood what was at stake. The official protocol covered military and government assets, but apparently civilians had their own ideas about what to bring home. What kind of cargo are we talking about? Everything. Raw materials, manufactured goods, alien plants, data cores. One luxury liner captain claims to have an entire alien library in his cargo hold. Another brought back a xenozoology collection, including live specimens. Linda rubbed her temples. Live specimens? Of course they did. Should we deny them entry, ma'am? Absolutely not. If they made it back before the lockdown, they dock. We'll sort out the chaos later. Right now, I want every scrap of technology, every byte of data, and every alien artifact catalogued and studied. The Council tried to set us back by cutting us off. We're going to turn their exile into our greatest advantage. At Lunar Base 3, scientist Victor Chen was already hard at work. His team had been among the first to return, carrying with them the complete research files from the Galactic Science Cooperative. 15 years of collaborative research across 20 species, all the theoretical frameworks, all the experimental data, all the failed approaches and successful breakthroughs. We've got their entire quantum mechanics research tree, Victor told his assembled team, their materials science database, their biological engineering protocols. They shared all of this with us because we were cooperative partners. They never imagined we'd take it and run. His deputy, Dr. Colin Park, Patricia Moore, was sorting through xenobiological samples. The medical applications alone are incredible. Their cellular regeneration techniques are centuries ahead of ours, but they're based on principles we can understand and replicate. Give us 5 years and we'll have integrated this into human medicine. 5 years, Victor shook his head. Patricia, we don't have the luxury of slow and careful anymore. The Council exiled us because we advanced too fast. Let's prove them right. I want working prototypes in 6 months. In orbit around Mars, the industrial station Forge was receiving shipments of alien manufacturing equipment. Station Director Carlos Rodriguez watched as massive fabrication units were carefully maneuvered into the facility's assembly bays. These weren't just tools, they were complete production lines, capable of building components humans had previously needed to import from Council space. How long to get these operational? Carlos asked his chief engineer. If we follow the manufacturer specifications, 2 years, maybe 18 months if we push. We're not following manufacturer specifications. Reverse engineer them, figure out how they work, then figure out how to make them work better. I want production online in 3 months. The engineer blinked. Sir, that's impossible. The Council just told us we're cut off from their economy. We need to be self-sufficient, and we need to be it yesterday. Make it happen. Across human space, the same conversations were happening. Scientists examining alien technology and finding ways to improve it. Engineers tearing apart systems and rebuilding them to human specifications. Doctors integrating xenobiological research into new treatments. Humanity wasn't just recovering from exile. They were weaponizing it. On the bridge of the horizon, Jake Morrison monitored the stream of returning vessels. The operation had gone better than planned. Not a single ship lost, minimal casualties, and the cargo manifests kept exceeding expectations. Humanity had evacuated Council space with more technology and knowledge than he dared hope. Final count, Commander, his operations officer reported. 347 locations successfully evacuated. Total personnel recovered, 42,306. Total cargo, 860,000 tons of equipment, materials, and data storage. And that's not counting the civilian vessels still arriving. Jake allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. The Council had given humanity 70 hours. Humanity had needed less than 48 to strip every human installation and disappear. Speed and efficiency, the traits that made the Council nervous in the first place. Status of the network barrier? Active as of 20 minutes ago. We're completely cut off from Council communications and navigation networks. We're on our own. Good. Jake pulled up a system-wide communication channel. Attention all vessels and stations. Protocol homeward is complete. All personnel and assets have successfully returned to Sol System. The Council has enacted their exile. We are now officially outside galactic civilization. He paused, letting that sink in. So let's show them what happens when you exile humanity. Let's show them what we can build when we're not bound by their rules, their restrictions, their fear of progress. The Council thinks they've contained a threat that actually just freed us to become something greater. Morrisonette. On Earth, President Martinez addressed the planet. Billions of humans watched as their leader stood before the cameras, her expression calm but determined. My fellow citizens of Earth and all human colonies. The Galactic Council has voted to exile humanity from their community. They fear our potential, our drive, our refusal to accept that progress must be slow and measured. They have cut us off from their networks, their trade, their civilization. She let the words hang for a moment. We accept their decision, but we do not accept their judgment. Humanity has never needed permission to advance, to explore, to reach beyond what others say is possible. Our returning ships carry with them the tools to accelerate our development beyond anything the Council imagined. In their attempt to contain us, they have freed us to pursue our own path without limitation. We stand alone now, but we stand stronger than ever. Let the Council wonder what we're building in our isolation. Let them question their decision as years pass, and they hear nothing from Sol System. And let them fear the day when humanity emerges from this exile, because we will emerge. And when we do, we will be something the galaxy has never seen before. The speech went viral across human networks. The mood shifted from anxiety about exile to excitement about possibility. Humanity had been given freedom from oversight, freedom from restrictions that other species considered necessary. The question wasn't whether humans would use that freedom. The question was what they would become with it. In a research facility deep beneath Earth's surface, a team of scientists examined an alien device retrieved from the Andromeda colonies. It was a prototype faster-than-light drive, experimental technology the Council had deemed too dangerous for general use. The aliens who built it had spent decades debating its safety, running endless simulations. Proceeding with extreme caution, the human team had it disassembled in 6 hours. The safety restrictions are built into the core design, the lead scientist observed. They limit the field generation to prevent cascade failures. But if we remove those limiters and reinforce the containment matrix, we could triple the effective range. What about the cascade failure risk? Her assistant asked. Still there, but manageable with proper shielding and faster response systems. The aliens designed this to be safe. We'll design it to be effective. This was the pattern repeating throughout human space. Alien technology designed with caution and safety as primary concerns was being redesigned with effectiveness and capability as the goals. It was a dangerous approach, one that would lead to failures and setbacks. But it was also an approach that would lead to breakthroughs the Council species had never achieved. The exile was 3 days old. In those 3 days, humanity had already begun transforming what the Council intended as punishment into an unprecedented opportunity. Research programs launched, manufacturing facilities retooled, educational institutions began incorporating alien knowledge into their curricula. The pace of change was dizzying, chaotic, and exactly what made humanity simultaneously valuable and terrifying to the galactic community. The Council had voted to exile Earth because humanity wouldn't slow down, wouldn't accept limits, wouldn't stop pushing boundaries. The exile removed the last external pressure to moderate that drive, and humanity, freed from the need to reassure nervous alien civilizations, was about to show the galaxy exactly how fast they could move when nothing held them back. The rulers had voted, the exile had begun. And humanity's response was not to slow down and reflect. It was to accelerate, to push harder, to prove that being cast out was not a setback, but a liberation. Because humans don't wait to be told twice. They take the message, internalize it, and then exceed every expectation of what that message should mean. The galaxy had tried to contain humanity. It had just created something far more unpredictable instead. 6 months passed in isolation. The galactic network barrier remained active, separating Sol system from the rest of civilized space. No council ship approached, no communication attempted. The exile was total and absolute, but within that isolation, humanity was changing at a pace that would have horrified the council members who voted for it. Captain Nicole Wright commanded the newly commissioned vessel Defiance, the first ship built entirely with reverse-engineered alien technology. The construction had taken 4 months, a fraction of the time council shipyards required for similar vessels. The difference was in approach. Where alien engineers proceeded with methodical caution, human teams worked in parallel, accepted failures as learning opportunities, and iterated designs in weeks rather than years. The modified drive system is performing above specifications. Above specifications. That phrase had become humanity's unofficial motto. Every piece of alien technology brought back during the evacuation had been studied, improved, and pushed beyond its original design parameters. The Defiance was powered by an engine that Council engineers said couldn't be made more efficient. Human engineers had increased its output by 40%. "Take us out of dock," Nicole ordered. "Let's see what this thing can really do." The Defiance moved away from the construction platform, its engines building to full power. Nicole felt the familiar pressure of acceleration, but smoother than any human-built vessels she'd flown before. The alien technology made the difference, but human modifications made it better. On Earth, President Martinez reviewed progress reports. The transformation was remarkable and unsettling in equal measure. Humanity had always advanced quickly by galactic standards, but without the moderating influence of Council oversight, that advancement had become exponential. Medical Division reports successful integration of Vorgash cellular regeneration techniques, her science advisor announced. They're seeing success rates that exceed the original alien research by 20%. Apparently, the Vorgash never tested their procedures on human physiology, which responds better to the treatment than their own biology. Military research has operational prototypes of improved weapons systems, energy efficiency up by 35%, range increased by half. Agricultural teams have adapted the Centauri crop enhancement technology and applied it to Earth plants. Initial trials show yield increases of 60%. The list went on. Every sector, every industry, every field of research showed dramatic advancement. Humanity was absorbing decades of alien knowledge and building on it at breathtaking speed. "What about the theoretical physics team?" Linda asked. "The one working on the experimental FTL drive we recovered?" Her advisor's expression grew cautious. "They've made progress. Significant progress. But, Madam President, what they're proposing goes beyond anything the Council ever attempted." "Explain." "The alien prototype could open a faster-than-light corridor across approximately 50 light-years. Our team believes they can modify it to reach 500 light-years, maybe more." Linda felt a chill. The Council spent decades developing their version and settled on 50 light-years as the safe maximum range. Our team thinks they can increase that tenfold in 6 months. They don't think, ma'am. They've run the calculations. They believe it will work. The question is whether we're willing to test it. This was the edge humanity walked. The Council advanced slowly because they valued safety and stability. Humanity advanced quickly because they valued progress and were willing to accept risk. Sometimes that meant failures, accidents, setbacks. But it also meant breakthroughs that more cautious species would never achieve. Schedule the test, Linda decided. But do it in deep space, far from any inhabited areas. If it fails catastrophically, I don't want collateral damage. At Lunar Base 3, Victor Chen's team had moved from studying alien technology to actively improving it. The quantum computing cores recovered from various sources had been integrated into a new network architecture that exceeded anything the Council operated. The Council's quantum systems are designed to prevent cascade errors, Victor explained to a group of visiting researchers. They sacrifice processing power for stability. We've designed our system to detect and correct cascade errors in real time, which lets us run at much higher processing levels. What's the failure rate? One researcher asked. Higher than the Council would accept, but our error correction is fast enough that failures don't propagate. We get more computing power and we maintain stability. It's the best of both approaches. This was becoming humanity's signature. Taking alien technology designed around specific limitations and finding ways to work around those limitations. Not always safely, not always without cost, but always pushing toward greater capability. Dr. Patricia Moore's medical research team had made similar breakthroughs. The alien regeneration techniques were now being enhanced with human genetic modifications, creating treatments that worked better on humans than the original procedures worked on the species that invented them. We're adapting their technology to our biology, instead of adapting our biology to their technology, Patricia explained. The aliens develop medical treatments that work across multiple species. We're developing treatments optimized specifically for human physiology. Narrower application, but much more effective. This specialization gave humanity an advantage the diverse Council could never match. Council technology had to work for dozens of different species, with wildly varying biology. Human technology only needed to work for humans, which meant it could be optimized in ways alien technology couldn't. At the Mars Industrial Complex, Carlos Rodriguez oversaw production lines that were now outputting components at rates that would have seemed impossible 6 months ago. The alien manufacturing equipment had been torn apart, analyzed and rebuilt with human modifications that prioritized speed over the aliens' preferred approach of minimizing waste. We're burning through raw materials faster than the original alien designs would, Carlos admitted to his oversight committee, but we're producing finished goods 3 times faster. The math works in our favor. What about quality control? Our failure rate is higher than alien standards, but lower than old human standards. We're in the sweet spot, better than we were, faster than they are. The philosophy was spreading through human industry. Don't match alien standards, exceed them where it matters, and accept lower performance where it doesn't. The result was a manufacturing base that could outproduce Council facilities while using less advanced base technology. Commander Jake Morrison watched all of this from the horizon and wondered what the Council would think if they could see what humanity had accomplished in just 6 months. The Exile was meant to slow human development by cutting off access to alien knowledge and resources. Instead, it had accelerated that development by removing the restrictions the Council imposed. "Sir, we're detecting unusual activity in the outer system," his sensor operator reported. Multiple vessels conducting what appears to be high-energy tests. Jake pulled up the data. A fleet of experimental ships was testing new drive systems, new weapons, new defensive screens. Every test pushed boundaries. Every failure led to rapid iteration. Every success was immediately incorporated into new designs. This was how humanity approached development. Try everything, fail fast, learn faster. Any accidents? 3 ships reporting drive malfunctions. All crews recovered safely. They're already scheduling revised tests for next week. 3 failures out of dozens of tests. The Council would have halted all testing after the first malfunction, spent months analysing what went wrong, implemented new safety protocols. Humanity noted the failures, made corrections, and kept pushing forward. Monitor them, but don't interfere, Jake ordered. If they're going to blow themselves up, they'll do it whether we watch or not. Might as well learn something from it. That evening, Jake composed a report summarizing the last 6 months. It would go into human archives, a record of what humanity accomplished in isolation. He wrote about the technology reverse-engineered, the breakthroughs achieved, the risks taken and sometimes failed. He wrote about a species that refused to be slowed down, that saw exile as opportunity, that turned isolation into advantage. He ended the report with a prediction. The Council exiled humanity believing it would contain our expansion and moderate our development. In 5 years, maybe 10, they will realize their error. They will detect signals from Sol System that indicate technology beyond what they believed possible. They will wonder what we built in our isolation. And they will face a choice: maintain the exile and accept that humanity developed independently into an unknown factor, or end the exile and try to re-establish contact with a species that no longer needs their guidance or approval. Either way, the Council's attempt to limit humanity will be remembered as the decision that freed us to become what we truly could be. Jake filed the report and looked out at Earth. 6 months ago, the Council had voted to exile humanity. 6 months from now, humanity would be even further advanced, and every month after that, the gap would widen. The Council thought they were building a wall. They'd actually just removed the only restraint on humanity's development. The vote had passed. The exile continued, and humanity's answer remained the same. Watch us. Just watch what happens when you tell us we can't, because we'll show you exactly what we can do, and it will exceed every fear that made you try to stop us in the first place. The research station orbiting Neptune was humanity's furthest outpost, a facility dedicated to the most experimental and dangerous research. Dr. Alan Foster led the team working on the modified FTL drive, the project that President Martinez had approved despite its risks. Final checks complete, Alan announced to his team. The drive is ready for testing. The prototype was mounted in an unmanned vessel, a small craft built specifically to test whether the modified faster-than-light corridor would work or tear itself apart in the attempt. The alien design called for carefully controlled energy levels and gradual activation. Alan's team had thrown out those specifications and redesigned the system for rapid deployment and maximum range. Initiating activation sequence, the operations officer said. Energy readings spiked as the drive powered up. The alien technology interfaced with human modifications, quantum fields building to levels that made the Council engineers' specifications look conservative. Alan watched the data scroll past, calculations running in real time, the point of no return approaching fast. "Corridor forming!" someone called out, energy levels holding steady. On the monitors, space itself seemed to tear open. The faster-than-light corridor formed, a tunnel through space-time that should have extended 50 light-years. The sensors showed it reaching further. 100 light-years, 200, 400, range exceeding all projections, the sensor operator said, voice tight with excitement and fear. 500 light-years and still extending. The corridor stabilized at 620 light-years, more than 10 times the range of the alien prototype. Alan stared at the readings, hardly believing what his team had accomplished. They'd taken experimental Council technology and pushed it beyond anything the aliens had imagined possible. "Send the test vessel through," he ordered. The unmanned craft engaged its engines and entered the corridor. For a moment, nothing. Then confirmation signals came through. The vessel had successfully traversed 620 light-years in the time it would have taken to cross 60 using standard Council corridors. The test team erupted in cheers. They'd done it. They'd taken alien technology and made it work better, faster, further than its designers ever intended. "Bring the vessel back," Alan said. "Let's make sure it can make the return trip." The craft entered the corridor again, and minutes later emerged near Neptune. Systems intact, hull undamaged, crew compartment registering normal conditions, despite being unmanned. The test was a complete success. Alan immediately sent his report to Earth. President Martinez would want to know that humanity had just achieved faster-than-light travel capabilities that exceeded Council standards by an order of magnitude. The Exile was supposed to cut humanity off from advanced technology. Instead, it had motivated humanity to advance that technology beyond what the Council achieved. Word of the successful test spread through human space within hours. The implications were enormous. With this range, humanity could explore far beyond the Council's established territories. They could reach systems the aliens had never surveyed, discover resources the Council didn't know existed, expand in directions the galactic community had never considered. Captain Nicole Wright received the specifications for the new drive and immediately requested one for the Defiance. If a test vessel could successfully traverse 600 light-years, a fully crewed warship could use that range for exploration, defense, or, if necessary, offense. The Council had exiled humanity, but with this technology, humanity could visit any Council world they wanted. The barrier only worked one way. On Earth, strategic planners were already mapping potential expansion routes. The Exile kept humanity out of Council space, but the galaxy was vast. There were millions of systems beyond Council territory, countless worlds that had never been surveyed or claimed. With the new FTL drive, humanity could reach them. We could establish colonies in regions the Council has never explored, one planner suggested during a strategy session. Build our own network of settlements completely independent of their influence. We could do that, another agreed, or we could explore closer to Council space, find resources they know exist but haven't claimed, and establish presence in areas they consider their frontier. President Martinez listened to the debate. The temptation to expand aggressively was strong. Humanity had the capability now, the new drive, the improved weapons, the enhanced manufacturing. All of it gave humanity tools to project power across vast distances. We don't make any moves yet, she decided. We've been in exile for 6 months. The Council expects us to be struggling with isolation, working to rebuild what we lost. Instead, we're advancing faster than ever. Let's not show our hand too early. Continue development. Continue research. Continue building our capabilities. But we expand carefully, quietly, in directions that won't immediately alert the Council to what we've achieved. It was the smart play. Humanity now had advantages the Council didn't know about. Revealing those advantages prematurely would only cause the Council to react, possibly with military force. Better to continue building strength while the Council believed the Exile was working as intended. But not everyone agreed with cautious expansion. On the frontier colonies, independent operators were already planning expeditions beyond Sol system. Free traders, exploratory crews, ambitious colonists. All of them saw opportunity in the new technology, and none of them felt bound by Earth's conservative approach. The ship Frontier Spirit, commanded by Captain Danny Cole, was one of the first to test that independence. Danny had spent 15 years hauling cargo between human colonies, barely making profit on the established routes. The new FTL drive offered him something he'd never had, the chance to reach untouched systems and claim opportunities before anyone else. "We're going dark," Danny told his crew of 12. "No communication with Earth, no filing of flight plans, no asking permission. We're going to cross into unexplored space and see what we find." His first officer, Sarah Martinez, no relation to the president, raised an eyebrow. "You know Earth will call that piracy. Earth isn't in charge of independent operators. We're not military, we're not government. We're free traders, and we're going to trade wherever we find opportunities." It was a sentiment spreading among the frontier population. The Council had exiled all of humanity, but within human space, there were factions that didn't feel bound by Earth's authority. They saw the new technology as a chance to strike out completely independently. to build something beyond Earth's control or the Council's notice. Danny engaged his new drive and the frontier spirit vanished into a faster-than-light corridor, heading for systems no human had ever visited. He wouldn't be the last. Dozens of independent ships were making similar preparations, ready to expand humanity's presence without waiting for official approval. This was the chaos the Council had feared. Humanity wasn't a unified government with centralized control. It was a collection of factions, nations, corporations, and independents, all pursuing their own interests. The Exile removed the last moderating influence, and now those disparate groups were free to act without oversight. On the horizon, Jake Morrison detected the unauthorized departures and made no move to stop them. He filed reports with Earth, noting each vessel that went dark and headed for unknown space, but he didn't pursue or recall them. They were technically violating protocols, but Jake understood the impulse. Humanity had been given freedom from Council restrictions. Why accept Earth's restrictions instead? Should we scramble, intercept ships? His operations officer asked. No, let them go. They're either going to find something valuable or get themselves killed. Either way, we'll learn something. It was cold calculation, but accurate. The independent ships were taking risks that official expeditions wouldn't. Some would fail catastrophically, but some would succeed, and their success would map out new opportunities for humanity's expansion. The pattern was clear now. The Council had exiled humanity, thinking it would slow development and contain expansion. Instead, the exile had shattered the last restraints on human ambition. Official channels developed new technology, carefully and strategically. Independent operators took that technology and pushed it to its limits, without caution or oversight. The combination created a species advancing on multiple fronts simultaneously, each one pushing boundaries the Council never imagined would be tested. 6 months into exile, humanity was already operating beyond Council projections. The question wasn't whether humanity would surpass Council capabilities. The question was how long until the Council noticed, and what they would do when they realized the exile had failed to achieve any of its intended goals. The answer to that question was coming faster than anyone expected, because while humanity raced forward, the Council was about to discover that isolation didn't mean invisibility, and the signs of what humanity was building in their exile were about to become impossible to ignore. 3 years into the exile, the first Council ship crossed into Sol System in violation of the isolation protocols. It was a small scout vessel, unarmed and broadcasting peaceful intentions. Commander Jake Morrison, still stationed aboard the horizon, detected it immediately. Unidentified alien vessel. This is Orbital Defense Command. You are in violation of exile protocols. State your intentions. The response came in slightly accented but clear English. This is Survey Captain Thelmwa of the Centauri Science Fleet. I request immediate audience with human leadership. I carry information of critical importance. Jake considered. The exile had been absolute for 3 years. No Council ship had approached Sol System in all that time. For one,